What's up guys, Redwing here, and welcome to another video. As promised last week, today's video will be what if I wrote Star Wars Episode 8, titled Star Wars, Rise of the Yuuzhan Vong. And continuing from last week's video, so if you haven't seen that one yet, feel free to check it out. And without further ado, let's get into it. Our story begins 30 years after the Battle of Endor, during what was now known as the Yuuzhan Vong War, at the wedding of Jacen Solo to Tenel Ka Jo on Coruscant in front of the Senate building. Many people came to the wedding in person or watched it on the HoloNet. Those who attended in person included Jacen's parents, younger brother Anakin and twin sister Jaina, sister-in-law Tahiri Vela, family friend Chewbacca, uncle and aunt Luke and Mara Jade Skywalker, and 2-year-old cousin Ben Skywalker. Shortly after the wedding, Tahiri pulled Anakin to another room in the Chancellor's quarters where the two could talk alone. It was then that Tahiri told Anakin that she had fallen pregnant with their baby. Anakin is overjoyed and the two have a happy moment before deciding to spend some overdue time with Chewbacca, Han, and Leia on the Millennium Falcon. It is during this trip that the Falcon is attacked near the Solar System by a group of 3 members of the Yuuzhan Vong. Anakin single-handedly defeats them all, even though the aliens are immune to all Force powers the Jedi attempted on them. The Solos then return to Coruscant to resume their duties. It is upon Anakin's return that he is promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight by his uncle Luke, due to his actions on the Millennium Falcon. The Jedi Council had been re-established by Luke shortly after the beginning of the war, specifically after having to move back to Coruscant after the destruction of the Ossus Jedi Temple, and they were all present for Anakin's promotion as they raised no objections. Meanwhile, Jedi Knights everywhere are being savagely and mysteriously killed all over the galaxy. No Jedi survived on any world, but not before alerting the Jedi Order through the Force about certain descriptions of a dangerous creature. Meanwhile, Jacen and Tenel Ka are on their honeymoon on Naboo when they are suddenly attacked by a mysterious 8-legged creature with a poisonous barbed tail, coated claws, and sharp teeth. They narrowly escape with their lives before returning to Coruscant to inform the Jedi Council of what had happened, right after Anakin becomes a Jedi Knight. Luke reveals that the Council already knows and is very concerned, as Jedi everywhere are being killed across the galaxy. Han, Chewie, and Leia are then informed of the situation by Luke and Mara, and they agree that a Republic stealth team be sent to see what these creatures truly are, and that only one Jedi accompany them to bait them out. Jedi Knight Yulaha Kor volunteers to go with them. They go to the planet Merkur, where the first Jedi Knights killed by the creature were at the time. However, unfortunately, Kor is killed by yet another creature as soon as it is drawn out, but not without a fight. After Kor's death, the Republic stealth team followed the creature to a Yuuzhan Vong city consisting only of spaceships, ones not native to the galaxy at large. They find out that the creatures that were killing Jedi everywhere were called the voxyn. The team is discovered due to a critical error, and the entire stealth team is killed by the voxyn except for one person, Gavin Darklighter, who was the cousin of the late Biggs Darklighter, and who hid himself and narrowly escaped with his life. He went back to Coruscant to inform Leia, Han, and Luke about what had happened and what the team had discovered. He explained that there was a never-before-seen Yuuzhan Vong city on Merkur. He explained that the creatures that were killing Jedi were called the voxyn. He explains that the voxyn are Yuuzhan Vong monsters and Jedi killers. He tells them to stay away from anything that looks like an 8-legged reptile. He also explains that they spit acid and screech sound waves, and maybe even worse than that. This explanation was a very deep concern for the Republic and the galaxy at large. It was especially a concern for even Luke Skywalker himself, seeing as these creatures had already killed dozens of his Jedi students across multiple worlds. Upon finding out about the voxyn, Tenelka, Jacen, and Gavin are then taken to the Jedi Temple to brief the Jedi about everything that had happened. Han, Chewie, and Leia are also present. This is where Gavin remembers that the Yuuzhan Vong mentioned that the voxyn are unable to breed, and that each voxyn is a perfect genetic clone of what is known as the Voxyn Queen. Luke then calls an emergency Jedi Council meeting to discuss the matter at hand. During the meeting, Luke hears the voice of Anakin Skywalker's Force ghost, and Anakin proposes to his son that a special strike team be sent to Merkur with the sole purpose of killing the Voxyn Queen. Luke then reluctantly proposes this idea, knowing how crazy it is, but seeing as it is the only option. Reluctantly, the entire council agrees, and begins searching for Jedi Knights who are willing to be on this strike team. Kype Durron volunteers himself to be on this strike team to ensure that there are only minimal casualties. Luke and Mara agree. Luke then meets with Leia, proposes his plan, and tells her that their father had spoken to him during the Jedi Council meeting, giving him the idea in the process. Leia hesitates for a moment to approve due to the amount of casualties this mission might cause, and also because of Luke's request that he go to Anakin, Jacen, and Jaina about seeing if they would be willing to go. She argues that Anakin has only just barely become a Jedi Knight, but then Luke calmly points out that Anakin has already done great things in the galaxy, and that he has indeed redeemed Anakin Skywalker's name as Leia always intended. Leia then agrees, seeing that the strike team is the best and only option that the Jedi have left at survival, and requests that a separate team be utilized to take the Yuuzhan Vong city, and that an entire squadron of Republic soldiers be assigned to go with the Jedi on their mission so as to prevent as many Jedi casualties as possible. Luke agrees, and the Skywalker twins then have a somber brother-sister moment before parting ways. Luke then goes back to the Jedi Temple and meets with Jedi Master Kype Durron. The two Jedi managed to get several Jedi Knights added to the team. They were Anakin, Jaina, and Jacen Solo, Tenelka, Jedi Master Sabah Sabatin's son Teaser, Tahiri Vela after she was promoted to Jedi Knight herself, Raynar Thul, Chewie's nephew Lobaka, Errol Besa, Jovan Dwark, Teaser's Barabel hatchmates Rella Hara and Krasaf Hara, Jaina's close friend Zek, the Solo's friend Alima Rar, and Ganner Rysode. Mara then volunteers to go with Luke and his team to try and help take the Yuuzhan Vong city, as well as Han Solo and Chewbacca. Kyle Katarn, Karan Horn, Kenneth Hamner, and Sabah Sabatin would go with Luke and Mara as their Jedi company, whilst Leia would stay with 2-year-old Ben. Meanwhile, Leia informed Han of the situation at hand, and Han assigned half of the Republic's best troops to the Voxyn strike team, while the other half would go with Luke and Han. Among the troops assigned to the Voxyn Queen strike team were Gavin Darklighter and skilled pilot Poe Dameron, son of a former Imperial officer who was mentored by Han himself. Among the troops assigned to Luke and Han's team were Wedge Antilles and, of course, Lando Calrissian. On Merkur, the Yuuzhan Vong are trying to clone the Voxyn Queen again, thus creating more deadly creatures. It is at this moment that the sound of Darth Vader's breathing is heard in the distance. The Yuuzhan Vong shake this off and think it is a hallucination as Darth Vader is dead. However, Vader suddenly comes out from quite literally nowhere, says, "Wrong," as he then ignited his lightsaber and started to slaughter the aliens, taking them all completely by surprise as they drew their weapons, which the Yuuzhan Vong called amphistaffs. These amphistaffs were very sharp and could stab through any living being as easily as a knife cuts through butter. Vader is destroyed, however, after 20 of the Yuuzhan Vong are killed, and it is revealed that the Vader that the Vong fought was in fact a droid made of Beskar that had been given Vader's lightsaber. And it is revealed that Vader's lightsaber was not destroyed above Endor along with the second Death Star. Luke later found it after the Battle of Endor and decided to keep it as a memory of his father. It is at this moment that the Yuuzhan Vong realized that Vader was simply a distraction to draw attention away from the real attack on the Voxyn Queen. Meanwhile, Anakin Solo leads the strike team to kill the Voxyn Queen and uses 2 borrowed Republic transports to travel to Myrkr. They land on Myrkr with their ships cloaked, as the Vader droid given to them by Luke and Leia themselves fought the Vong. Gavin guides them to where the Voxyn are being kept. The Voxyn sense the Jedi, however, and charge them. A battle ensues, and Jovan Drark, Ganner Rysode, Errol Besa, and Bella and Krasov Hara are killed. However, Jaina discovers that if a lightsaber strike is placed correctly, it can kill a Voxyn. The Jedi then start to succeed in killing more of the Voxyn. It is as the remaining Jedi had 6 Voxyn left to destroy that the Yuuzhan Vong ambushed them, and they were forced to retreat, as Raynar Thol and Anakin had been badly wounded, with Anakin suffering a broken nose, black eye, swollen lip, and a stab through the abdomen by an amphistaff. Jaina wanted to heal her brother with the Force, but Anakin refuses, saying that he could get into a healing trance when they get back into the ships. Jaina is tempted to do it anyway, but agrees as Tahiri then helps her husband. Meanwhile, Luke and Mara travel to Myrkr in their family ship, the Jade Shadow, with the Jedi, while Han, Chewie, and Lando travel in the Millennium Falcon. The rest of the Republic troops used either Wedge Antilles X-Wing or their Republic transports. They land in front of the city and charge it. The Jedi and Republic seem to be getting the upper hand due to the low number, but the Yuuzhan Vong were more powerful. Luke and Han fight side by side as Yuuzhan Vong everywhere are trying to get a hit on the two, but the duo was simply too much. Mara also does well against the Vong, using her Jedi training, blaster training, and training as an Emperor's hand to defeat many of the Yuuzhan Vong. Many Republic soldiers were killed, however, when more Yuuzhan Vong suddenly came from the atmosphere and rained down blaster fire upon the surface, and they were forced to retreat. Meanwhile, the Voxyn Queen strike team was almost to their ships, when all of a sudden, the Yuuzhan Vong finally caught up with them. Anakin then volunteered to hold them off while the rest of them escaped. Jaina, Jacen, Tenelka, and Tahiri all pleaded with him not to, but Anakin insisted, knowing that if he did not do this, they would all die. Anakin told his siblings to never forget him, and shared a kiss with his wife Tahiri before charging at the Vong, while the rest of them escaped except for Jacen and Jaina, who watched on in anticipation and anxiety. Anakin fought the Yuuzhan Vong valiantly. In fact, he remembered his Uncle Luke's teachings about how a Jedi's strength flows from the Force, and let the Force flow through him. There was no death, Anakin thought. There was only the Force. Anakin used his purple lightsaber to fight the Vong as well as his newly amplified Force powers. White beams of light even shot from his fingers and hands through use of the Force. That was how powerful in the Force that Anakin had become at that moment. He had finally reached his full potential. However, Anakin became overwhelmed as more Yuuzhan Vong showed up, and as such, he then pulled out a thermal detonator and held it up so his siblings could see, and threw it towards the Vong. Anakin's last thoughts told Jaina and Jacen to take care of Tahiri and to make sure his unborn child would be inducted into the Jedi Order. The Solo twins were shocked at the revelation of Tahiri being pregnant, but Jacen then ran to the ship, with Jaina being forced. Anakin then used the Force one last time to fling the detonator to where the most Yuuzhan Vong would die, as he took an amphistaff to the back and another to his chest, killing him instantly as he became one with the Force, and as the thermal detonator exploded, killing all of the Yuuzhan Vong who assaulted the rest of his strike team as they flew away in their ships, escaping only very narrowly. Meanwhile, Luke feels Anakin's death through the Force, and upon reaching their ships and going into hyperspace en route to Coruscant, he told Mara and Han about the news, giving his deepest condolences to Han. And Han grieves for the death of his son, having dreaded the possibility of losing another child, as Chewbacca embraces him, trying to comfort his friend while also grieving himself. Meanwhile, across the galaxy on Coruscant, in the Chancellor's office, Leia also felt Anakin's death through the Force and grieves for the loss of her youngest child. Jaina is grief-stricken and angry after Anakin's death. However, as she and Tahiri are grieving together, she attempts to comfort her by telling her that she knows about the pregnancy and promises her that no matter what happens, the baby would be taken care of. Tahiri presses that the more important matter to her at that moment is making sure that Anakin gets a proper funeral. Jaina agrees and takes one of the ships alone to go back to the Voxyn Queen to finally kill her. Meanwhile, Jacen is grieving over the loss of his younger brother, but it is then that Jacen senses his sister through the Force attempting to leave to confront the Vong alone. Jacen then runs into his wife, who consoles him. They share a kiss before Jacen sneaks aboard Jaina's ship while also hiding his presence in the Force, as he had figured out how to do so. The ship then takes off, and Tenoka, Tahiri, and the rest of the strike team go back to Coruscant in the other ship. Upon getting to the place where Anakin had died, Jaina got out of the ship and made a beeline for the Voxyn Queen, but Yuuzhan Vong caught her and charged her, their leader holding Anakin's corpse. Jaina then used the Force to push Anakin into the Yuuzhan Vong holding him, taking them all by surprise. She then put Anakin into the ship using the Force. When this was done, the Yuuzhan Vong charged her again, but this time she was ready for them. She stretched forth her hand, and with all of her rage over the death of Anakin, she used Force lightning to kill one of them, putting a hole in its chest. And then she used it against every Yuuzhan Vong present. Meanwhile, Jacen snuck off of the ship immediately after Jaina charged the Vong. He then made sure that the Yuuzhan Vong were distracted and ran towards the Voxyn Queen. He then went underneath it and ignited his green lightsaber onto its stomach and then sliced it in half from the stomach to its head, killing it instantly. He then made his presence known to the Vong, as well as put his presence back into the Force. Jaina sensed him as she was using the Force lightning and stopped. She then angrily argued with Jacen that he shouldn't even be there and that she had everything under control. Jacen then argued that she was using the dark side of the Force and that if she persisted, she would be consumed by it. Jaina pauses, realizes the truth of her brother's words, and they both retreat to the ship, having completed the mission on which they were sent anyway. And now that the Voxyn Queen was dead, the cloning process could not continue. Since the Voxyn are not able to breed, they would soon start to die out. It is as they make it to the ship that the Vong catch up with the Solo twins. Jacen and Jaina fight the Vong valiantly, but they are soon nearly overwhelmed as more Vong show up. Jacen then contacts R2-D2, who had also snuck onto Jaina's ship, and tells him to set a course for Coruscant, to put it on autopilot, and to not turn manual pilot back on no matter what. Jaina is confused as to what Jacen is doing, but she soon understands as Jacen pushes her into the ship using the Force. The door to the ship then closes as Jaina is whisked away to Coruscant, screaming on behalf of her brother and desperately trying to get the manual pilot back on. But it is no use, as R2, doing what Jacen had told them to do, made the jump into hyperspace. When Jaina returns to Coruscant, she is immediately embraced by Luke, Han, and Leia, as they had been very worried for her safety after the death of Anakin. Tenelka arrives and she asks where Jason is. Jaina reluctantly tells them that Jason had possibly sacrificed his own life in order to save her. Tenelka then grieves for the possible death of her husband, but Leia then says that Jason is still alive. If Jason had died, Leia said, then she would have felt it in the Force, the same way she felt it for Anakin. Luke believes her for the very same reason, and they come to the conclusion that Jason Solo is indeed not dead, only captured. Meanwhile, Jason is overwhelmed and loses the fight after more Vongs show up. But they do not kill him. Instead, a female Foch then shows up and told Jason that he was now a prisoner of the Yuuzhan Vong. Jason asks who this person is, as he had never before encountered them. The Foch simply introduces herself as Vergere. The story ends with the funeral of Anakin Solo on Tenelka's homeworld of Hapes, where he is cremated by Luke Skywalker and remembered not only as a very powerful Jedi Knight, but as a hero who gave his life to ensure the survival of the Jedi as Anakin's body disappears into the Force, just as Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his grandfather Anakin Skywalker had done before him. 8 months later, Tahiri gives a healthy birth to her and Anakin's son, who she then names Jarek. She asks Luke if he can be inducted into the Jedi Order, and Luke agrees, seeing as the boy is strong in the Force, just like his father before him. The Skywalkers and Solos then wonder how they're going to rescue Jason as the Republic prepares to recruit more soldiers for the war against the Yuuzhan Vong. Flashbacks of Anakin Solo's life are given throughout the story. One such flashback includes Anakin as a 9-year-old boy waking up from a terrible nightmare that depicted him becoming a Sith Lord like his grandfather Darth Vader once was. Leia and Han hear his screams and go comfort him as his siblings sleep, assuring him that that would never happen as long as someone like Luke Skywalker or his siblings were there to bring him back from the grip of the dark side. Another flashback includes Anakin's training at the Jedi Temple on Ossus. Luke teaches Anakin how a Jedi's strength flows from the Force, just as Yoda had taught Luke many years before. Well, folks, that is our story today. Let me know what other what-if ideas you have in the comments below. In other news, I have decided to start posting on Saturdays instead of Tuesdays after this week's video. And so this Saturday will come What If I Wrote Star Wars Episode 9, continuing from today's video. Do leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss a thing. Follow my Instagram at Star Wars Red Wing. It really does help me out. Thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and I'll see y'all later.